So my knitting philosophy, such as it is really just that I want to make weird stuff. I just want to make interesting things. I find I'm not really drawn to any of the viral patterns. Look, I'm not on TikTok. I'm barely on Instagram. I don't know what's going viral. The way that I know what's going viral is when elder millennials disseminate TikTok to me on YouTube. And even then, like, I'm not finding myself really excited about the things that are, having some sort of moment. What I am excited about is finding or creating weird stuff um, that actually feels like something that I created. So my current whip situation, uh, as always, is completely out of hand. I have probably six things that I have cast on and then immediately put aside because I saw something that I was more excited about. And there are two that I'm very excited about, which I cannot stop working on. The first of which is my second very varied vest. Um, so Lydia Morrow is the designer of the very varied vest. If you are not familiar with Lydia, you should be. And so now you are. Congratulations. Lydia's patterns are very cool because it's like a pick and mix situation. And so the like front closure, the neckline, you can kind of customize it all. So her patterns will typically come with a number of different views that you can kind of like mix and match to your heart's content. And so the first very varied vest that I made, this was my first foray into intarsia, actually. I was deathly afraid of intarsia for no reason. It's actually extremely simple, much more so than stranded colorwork, which for some reason I like just went for with mixed results. So this is the main design, this diagonal stripe. My first foray into intarsia, I was petrified. Everything turned out fine. I survived. I have a vest. It was a sort of a win-win. Um, but I think that this was the first time that I looked at the projects tab on Ravelry and really saw people making it their own. There were a number of people who sort of did like a duplicate stitch, um, writing some kind of text on it. There was somebody who used like a vintage chart. I think they did a frog on their vest. It was very cool. And another person found like a vintage sweater book and they sort of like overlaid the chart onto the very varied vest. So like realizing that was an option was kind of a game changer for me. Um, I was really happy with how this vest came out. This was probably one of the first garments that I actually wore as my clothing. Um, I had a number of uh, abject failures, which never saw the light of day. But this one actually like made it into my wardrobe. So the other revelation that happened kind of simultaneously to realizing you could add any kind of colorwork chart to any garment, space allowing, was that somebody on Reddit, on the knitting subreddit, shared a book called Wit Knits. I think it's from the 80s maybe, and it is the most deranged collection of sweaters, of intarsia colorwork sweaters I've ever seen, and I became instantly obsessed. They're incredible. The one that I enjoyed the most is the banana sweater. I was instantly besotted by the banana sweater. Um, so I decided to use that chart to make my second varied vest. Obviously, the complexity of this intarsia colorwork is slightly above the single straight line of my previous intarsia foray. But look, it's going fine. it's holding together. I have a uniform piece of fabric for the most part. Um, this is what I'm working with. I'm thrilled. It's it's divine. I'm pretty close to being finished actually. So I'm using the crew neck to give myself a little more real estate to accommodate the full banana. The majority of this is uh, knit pick swish. That's a lie. The blue here is knit pick swish. Then I had an amount of heritage cascade. So the three stripes are cascade. This is some yellow. I don't know what it is. Um, and it's definitely not the same kind of fiber. The yellow doesn't have the same kind of halo that the blue has. So the the blue like knits up really beautifully and uniformly, but I kind of feel like you can see every harrowing crevice in my yellow text. I've started weaving in the ends, and as I've done that, it started to be a bit more uniform. I'm sort of, adjusting the tension as I go through and weave in the ends. And it is, I'm more happy with the tension of the letters than I thought I would be. So obviously, I'm going to be dealing with a hellscape of ends, such as the intarsia life. I find myself really drawn to intarsia. Um, And like everything else that I do, I haven't considered the ramifications of what that means in practicality. Um, I very recently started to actually weave my ends in properly. Until then, I was sort of just tying them in a knot and then regretting having done that when it came undone. So this is all new, and I might regret it. So far, I don't. I found this idea quite daunting. Um, and I don't think I would have had the balls to attempt something so complex. I had tried an intarsia project before that was a little bit more fiddly. I made the bobbins. I hated every second of it. I did half intarsia, half stranded color work. That was heinous. I scrapped that. And I haven't returned to it. I was extremely intimidated by intarsia until I found a video by a YouTuber named Izzy Knits. She has a video called "You Don't Hate Intarsia, You're Just Doing It Wrong." Um, and it turns out I don't hate intarsia, or I am not scared of intarsia. I was just doing it wrong. So Izzy talks about the misguided choice to use bobbins. Turns out that bobbins do make intarsia way more difficult than it needs to be. So, hello, Albie. Albie, can you go and get on your mat? Thank you, good girl. Honestly, I have found that the people who make Lydia Morrow's patterns are all geniuses. They're all creative geniuses. Um, So these are a couple of the variations of the very varied vest that I really loved. So for my second vest, I'm using a yarn weight that is wildly different to the recommended yarn. Um, my original vest, again, I didn't use the yarn because I never used the recommended yarn. I just used some yarn that I had. But in this case, this is like a light fingering, which obviously changed my gauge swatch a lot. Um, but I found a video by, I believe it's Kate Knits Slowly, where she talks about math, gauge math. Um, and her video and her explanation was unlocked something in my brain. People have been trying to explain gauge swatch maths to me for, I don't know, a decade. And I don't like my brain doesn't work that way. But Kate's version of figuring out your gauge, your swatch gauge math, um, really just made something click. And so I ended up making a size, I think that was 3 sizes bigger than my original very varied vest. It was a gamble. So far, it is paying off. It does seem to be more or less the right size for me. I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that the Wit Knits vintage sweater book has changed my life. Um, I think about it all the time. This banana sweater is everything to me. Um, and now basically the only things that I want to make are garments that can accommodate a pattern from this book. It's psychotic and I love it. As far as I can tell, it's not easy to get your hands on this book. So I tracked it down through some means. So I will link that in the doobly doo, in case you also want to make your own banana very varied vest or anything, banana or anything. Really, there's no limits. The second thing that I'm working on at the moment that I'm very excited about is a sweater. This again, this uh, turned into something of a scavenger hunt to try and track a pattern down. Um, I recently finished watching Killing Eve. I started watching Killing Eve, uh, I don't know, 5 years ago. And I really couldn't bring myself to finish it because I didn't want it to be over. And so I just uh, watched I watched the first 2 seasons and then did nothing for several years. If you're not familiar with Killing Eve, Villanelle is a psychopathic assassin who has incredible fashion. So when I started watching Killing Eve, my friend had said to me, "You need to see this show. Her clothes are incredible." And I was like, "Do you think I'm someone else?" Um, yeah, and I was like, nah, I don't really care about fashion. Um, but then I saw it, and it changed me fundamentally as a person. So there are a number of unbelievable um, outfits that Villanelle wears. Yeah, the stuff that Villanelle wears in like season 1 and 2 is uh, unlike anything I've ever seen before, I would say. Um, Season 4 is a bit more low key, but in the last episode of the series, uh, they're in a like a seaside, a cabin in the English seaside, and Villanelle is wearing this cream cabled sweater. Like I've seen cabled sweaters. I made the Handsome Chris last year, and um, I do think I hated every minute of it. Making the Handsome Chris, I kind of felt like, okay, cables aren't for me. I'm a colorwork person. I have done this. I've experienced it. Don't need to do it again. And then I saw Villanelle wearing this sweater, um, and everything changed. And now I love cables. No, I still don't enjoy knitting them. I find it really fucking tedious, honestly. Um, but I want the sweater, and so I'm gonna do what it takes. So the sweater that she wears is not one of the, uh, well-known cable sweater patterns. So somebody on Reddit had been through the exact same roller coaster I had of becoming obsessed with the sweater that she was wearing, trying to track the pattern down. It was not like a readily available pattern. This person on Reddit had found a patterns, Patons, vintage sweater pattern book from the 60s. I want to say it's like 1964, and it is the exact sweater that she's wearing. So the pattern for this sweater is not a, it's not like a digital file. You can't sort of find it anywhere. Um, the person Reddit honestly saves me a lot of the time, knitting wise and otherwise. But the person in this Reddit thread referenced a website. I believe it's called vintagenits.com. Um, and basically, this website is a repository of digitized old patterns. Ooh. So this is the uh, portion of the cable sweater I've done so far. It has these darling little like one by one cables, delightful. And this section has this amazing moss stitch inside this cabled sort of diamond shape. I'm obsessed with it. Um, I, of all people, have no business knitting, owning, or wearing a white sweater, and yet that is not stopping me. So, um, look, if I can wear this more than once before it's permanently disfigured, that's going to be a win as far as I'm concerned. And the process of knitting it is so delightful that I'm fine with it being sort of a one-time wear. So be it. Um, I am making this in Knit Picks Woodland. I use a lot of Knit Picks. I'm not a millionaire. I find that a lot of the time the suggested yarn for a project is so prohibitive, prohibitively, so prohibitively expensive for me that I just, yeah, not an option. So um, I'm using Knit Picks. This has been such a delight to knit with. It is so squishy and soft that I'm just most of the time when I'm knitting, I'm mostly just caressing the fabric because it's so delightful and soft and squishy. Um, so yeah, very excited for this to become filthy and stained and anything else that I would expect a white shirt in my wardrobe to become. Yeah, so those are the things I'm working on at the moment. I'm extremely excited for both of them. I'm pretty optimistic about my vest. It is ambitious, but I think within the scope of my ability. Um, I would say the vest is, well, look, the vest is over halfway knit. The weaving in of the ends is going to be what it is. I don't know how long that's going to add to the process of making this thing, but look, however long it takes is worth it because it's going to be a perfect little specimen, and I'm very excited to show it to you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. If you, like me, are eager to see what becomes of this hot mess, stay tuned, subscribe, whatever. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you next time.